And we're joined now by Barbara Slavin, who is the director of the Future of Iran initiative, the Atlantic Council. Barbara, thank you very much indeed for taking time to speak to us. So the US say sanctions will be lifted if Iran rejoins the nuclear deal. I mean, it sounds simple, but I suppose that's a very big if. How complicated is that?
Well, the two sides were meeting up until June in Vienna in indirect talks and reached agreement on a number of issues. But it's complicated by definitions. It's complicated by sequencing. President Trump didn't just leave the Iran nuclear deal. He also reimposed all the old sanctions and added a bunch of new ones. So part of the process was sorting through hundreds of sanctions, deciding which ones were inconsistent, in the words of the State Department, with the Iran nuclear deal and had to be removed, and which ones perhaps would stay. And of course, the Iranians would like all the sanctions to be relieved. That's not going to happen. There are a couple of other issues. The Iranians want assurances that a future U.S. administration won't pull out of the deal again. And under the U.S. system, that's a rather hard guarantee to provide. And the Iranians also seem to be balking at the U.S. request that whatever kind of agreement they reach also contains a provision that there will be follow-on negotiations, because some of the restrictions on Iran's nuclear program expire in a certain number of years. And as you heard Ned Price say, the United States would like it to be permanent, that Iran is never in a position to actually develop nuclear weapons. So there's work to be done. The question is, when will the talks start again? How long will it take for Raisi to put in place his people? When will they be willing to return? And will they talk directly to the United States, or will it be indirectly again through the Europeans and the Russians and the Chinese?
And given that President Raisi is generally viewed as more hardline than his predecessor, how likely is it that he will make concessions?
Well, it's not really up to him. I call him the mini-me of the supreme leader. Raisi was handpicked by the supreme leader of the country, Ayatollah Khamenei, to have this position. Nobody who could have won the election was allowed to run. And the turnout was very, very low, not even 50%, and fewer than that, obviously, who voted for Raisi. So he is not in charge of this very important file. That is the supreme leader and other members of the Iranian security establishment. They have to decide whether they want a deal, what they're willing to concede in order to get these punishing sanctions lifted. And hopefully they will, I mean, they may make some attempts to get more out of the Biden administration, but hopefully it will be possible to reach a deal within the next few months.
And President Raisi has intimated that he would like to make a shift in tactics, i.e. not to tie his economic future to the United States and look elsewhere. But how realistic is that?
Well, Iran has already shifted its trade primarily to Asia. China has been Iran's biggest trading partner for more than a decade now, partly as a result of the sanctions that have been imposed on Iran repeatedly by the United States and by other countries. So this is not new, but I don't think Iran wants to depend entirely on China. I think it wants to resume selling oil to other parties, particularly in Europe, and it wants to be able to get easy access to its oil revenues. And for this, it needs a new agreement with the United States and other parties.
Barbara, thank you very much indeed. That was Barbara Slavin, director of the Future of Iran initiative. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.